Hey guys, I'm Keith, the keyboard instructor here at Worship Online. One of the things I get asked the most is how to play more complicated chord forms and whether or not they're really necessary in worship music. Sometimes it can be really easy to pick up a chord chart and while playing through it, skip over and avoid some of those harder chords like sixths, sevenths, or ninths. And sometimes that may be all the song really needs. But other times, adding in those few extra notes can make all the difference between your playing being good or great. So in this video, I'm going to be going over advanced chord theory and showing how this can help you read chord charts more efficiently, as well as add more color to your chord progressions. We'll be talking about things like seventh chords, add and sus chords, and practical ways to use this in your playing. We're going to be using a lot of theory and concepts from our first video, which is Music Theory 101. So if you haven't had a chance to watch this yet, or if you just want to brush up on some basic music theory, feel free to click the link in the description below this video and watch that. Also, stay tuned after this video, and we're going to be going into part 2, diving even deeper into chord theory, talking about secondary dominants, the pentatonic scale, and practical ways you can use both of those in worship music. So click the link in the description below this video, enter your email address, and we'll send that part 2 directly to you. All right, so let's get into it. So you've probably come across quite a few chord charts that have had either a sus or an add somewhere in the chord chart. Like let's say you're playing a song in the key of A and you've seen an A sus or an A add 2. So what exactly do these mean? Well, they're two pretty different things. The first one is going to be the add. The add is simply what that means. You're going to add an additional note to it, not taking away any other notes and just adding. So for example, let's start in the key of C. We have a basic C triad. So a C add 2 is going to do just that. Using scale degrees 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for our C triad, we're going to add the 2 with our pointer finger here. And that's adding the D in. So we still have the basic C triad with the addition of the 2. Regular, add 2. Now we can do the exact same thing with the 4 on a C add 4. There's our basic triad. Add 4 is just adding in that F. Regular, add 4. Now sus chords are slightly different. Sus chords are suspensions, and they also imply that you're going to be dropping the third scale degree. Also, if you just see the word sus, it's going to imply sus4. Sometimes people will write it out and sometimes they don't. But you can either do a sus4 or a sus2, and those are going to look like this. So here's our basic C triad. A C sus with nothing else written will imply the 4, and so you would play C, F, and G while dropping that middle 3, which is the E. So regular, C sus. Now we can also do the exact same thing for the C sus2, just drop that third and add the 2. So here's the regular, and a C sus2 is dropping that third, the E, and playing C, D, and G. And this concept works in any scale on any chord. So for example, the key of G. So here we've got our G triad, and then making it a G, add 2, we'll add that A in, the 2. Same thing, if we do an add 4, all we do is add the C. And once again, our scale degrees for this are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's why the 4 is the C. A regular G sus, G suspended, will be dropping that B and just playing the G, C, and D. And then a G sus 2 is using the second scale degree. A couple other chord examples. D, D sus, D sus 2, D add 2, D add 4. So those are some of the more common add or sus chords that you'll see. You'll also see an add 6, and this is exactly as it sounds like. Playing the basic chord triad, you'll then add the 6th on top of the 5th, like this. Here we are on C, an add 6 simply adds the 6th scale degree right above the fifth. So our four notes, C, E, G, and A. And that also works in any key on any chord. G6, C6, F6, E6. So those are the basic add and sus chords. Add 2, add 4, add 6, and then sus 2 and sus 4. We also have two additional add chords, and that's going to be the add 9 and the add 11. When you're doing add 9 or add 11, you're not going to be adding any sevenths or anything, you're simply going to be doing that, adding the 9th or the 11th. Well, there's only 8 scale degrees in any scale, so the 9th is actually the 2. So for the key of C, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, so our 2 is D. Our 9 is also a D, but higher up. So the add 9 would be like this. Your regular triad, and then add the 9 in. Also, the same thing for the add 11. Although you probably wouldn't hear it just like that, you'd hear something like this. Suspended. And that also pulls towards a resolution. And that add 9 and add 11 work on any chord as well. So for example, in the key of G, so our regular G chord, a G add 2, a G add 9. All we're doing is changing the 2 from the lower octave to a higher octave. Same thing with the 4. G add 4, G add 11. So just by adding in a few sus or add notes into your chord progression can add a lot of color. Here's an example. Now the other big chord you've probably seen on chord charts is the 7th chord. Now this can be kind of confusing as there's a lot of different ways to play a 7th chord. But here we're just going to be going over the 3 main, which is the major 7th, the minor 7th, and the dominant 7th. So I'll show you what each of those looks like, starting off in the key of C. So here we have our regular C triad, 3 notes. A 7th is going to add a 4th note a third above. So if we just add a major triad above, we get what we call a major 7. So this is a C major 7. And we call it a major 7 because of the major triad on the top. Now the second 7th chord is the C minor 7. So this is going to do 2 things. It's first going to make the C chord minor, and then we're going to do a minor 7th on the top, like this. There's our C minor, because we're lowering the 3rd, and then we're going to add a minor 3rd on top. There's our C minor 7, minor 3rd on the top. So our major 7, a major chord with a major 7 on the top, and the minor 7, a minor chord with a minor 3rd on top. And now the third type of 7th chord is the dominant 7th. The dominant 7th is going to be a dissonant chord because we're going to have 2 clashing tones, and that's going to look and sound like this. Now you've probably heard this a lot, as this chord tends to pull towards another chord. For example, that C dominant 7th chord wants to pull towards the F major. So now to build a dominant 7th chord, you play your basic triad and then you add a minor triad on top. And what's causing the tension and the pull on this 7th chord is what we call a tritone. And here's what the tritone looks like. A tritone is 6 half steps or 3 whole steps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That E and B flat. Those cause dissonance and want you to move towards 2 other notes. So for example, we're right next to the A and right next to the F with our thumb. They resolve into the F and A. E and B flat, tritone resolves into F and A. So that's what gives that dominant 7th chord its really distinct sound. So the 3 main 7th chords: a C major 7, a C minor 7, and a C dominant 7. Now obviously we can't use all the same versions of that C7 chord in the same song or even the same chord progression. So depending on the key you're in, it will dictate which chord gets which type of 7th. In the key of C, the C is going to be our 1 chord, and the 1 will always be a major 7. Major triad paired with a major 3rd for the 7th. The 2nd chord, our D minor, is the 2 minor, and that will always be a minor 7th. Minor chord, minor 7th. The 3 chord, in this case, is the E minor, will always be a minor triad with a minor 7. So an E minor 7 or a 3 minor 7. The 4 chord, which is an F in this case, will always be a major 7. This is an F major 7, major triad, major 7. The 5th chord is going to be our dominant chord, and this will always be a dominant 7, major triad, minor 7, and when we're in a key, we won't call it the dominant 7th, we will just simply call it 7. And then the last one is our 6 minor triad, which also will always be a minor 7. Minor triad, minor 7. So each of those chords once more: major 7, minor 7, minor 7, major 7, dominant 7, minor 7. And that works in any key as well. In the key of F, major 7, 2 minor 7, 3 minor 7, 4 major 7, 5 dominant 7, 6 minor 7. And you don't have to keep those in their standard root position like we're playing there. You can use any inversion for those 7th chords like this. There's our C major 7, F major 7, G dominant 7, and that resolves into the C major 7. So a song with a great example of the dominant 7 in action is going to be the end of It Is Well, and so that chord progression goes like this. So here we're in the key of G starting on the 4, which is the C. It is well with. There we go. On the chord with, we have our D dominant 7, which leads right into the G for the end. 4, 1, 5, 7, 1. And going even further, we have what we call 9th chords. Now this is different than an add 9, because in an add 9, we're just adding that additional note, where in a regular 9th chord, we're also implying the 7th scale degree. So I'm going to play a C major 9, and I'll show you what that looks like. Here's our major triad. There is our major 7th, and then the major 9 adds in that 9th above it as well. But it only works because we also have the 7th scale degree in there. We can do the same thing on a C minor 9. Here we have the C, E flat, and G for our regular minor triad, the minor 7th, and then we add the 9th in the top. And it works because we are including the 7th scale degree in there as well. So that's just important to know. If you're playing a chord that just says ninth, it's also going to imply that the seventh is in there as well. But if you're playing a chord that says add 9, it's not implying a seventh, and you can simply just add the ninth. Another song that really showcases the use of seventh chords is the Anthem by Planet Shakers. Here's what the regular intro sounds like on the song. So that lead line in the right hand is actually helping add all of those extra notes to create those seventh chords. So the basic chord progression is actually this. We have our G flat, major 7, then we have a regular B flat minor, and then we have an F minor 7 with an A flat in the bass. And notice the seventh is actually being played with the left hand on this E flat. But that creates the entire seventh chord. So the progression without any seventh sounds like this. It's fine, but it's pretty plain. It doesn't have a lot of color to it. With the sevenths, it just adds some extra color and body that we wouldn't get without those seventh chords. Now let's jump into part 2, where we're going to be going over secondary dominants and the pentatonic scale and how both of those can be used in worship music. And if you haven't already, make sure to click the link in the description below this video, enter your email address, and we'll send that part 2 directly to you. I'll see you there.